Good Guys Automotive Performance reporting to you live. Went ahead and did some work on the Dodge Dart today. 69 mod top, Super Street, topped out, 406 big block, Mopar, and the car. I don't know. It wasn't set up right. It ran. It started. If you watched the last video. But it wasn't right, so I took it off the car. I went through it today. The way the distributor is, we got the black bushing in the distributor. That gives us 18 degrees of mechanical advance. So I went ahead and set the initial advance at 18, and that way it gives us 36 when it's all in. It's got some pretty stiff springs in it. I thought it might like the lighter springs, but I didn't want to do that. You know, you do one adjustment at a time, so that you can narrow down your performance and figure out what it really needs. But it probably could benefit from some lighter springs, or maybe even just locking the distributor out like at 34 degrees. But anyway, the 18 initial and then the 18 mechanical gives us 36 all in. So that's a good starting point to see where the carburetor's at. I took the carburetor off. I put a smaller power valve in the primaries. This thing doesn't make a lot of vacuum because it's such a big cam. And I went ahead and did some adjustments on the accelerator pump. I moved the location of the cams on the accelerator pump to the more aggressive setting. But I think ultimately the squirters on the accelerator, it's a double pumper, and the squirters on the accelerator pumps are kind of small, I feel like, for this carburetor. Again, I didn't want to do too many changes at once. I went ahead and put all the idle on the primaries. The secondaries were open up a little bit, so I went ahead and closed them, and I closed the idle mixture screws on the rear, on the secondaries, most of the way. They're just barely cracked open, just to let a little bit of fuel drip through there. And then I set the primary idle screws to 2 turns out, and then, you know, like I say, put all the idle on the primary butterflies. This is a square bore carburetor, so it's got the same size butterflies on the front and rear, throttle plates rather. Anyway, it's idling better now. There's no choke, so for the first couple minutes, you know, it runs a little bit rough. You got to let it warm up and kind of hold your foot on the throttle. But as soon as it warms up, then it starts to run nice. I got it idling right around 1,000 RPMs. It wouldn't idle at all before, so that's cool. Excuse me. But then the response is a little bit, I think when you whack the throttle, it's starving a little bit. And so I probably need to put some bigger accelerator pump cams on there and go ahead and put the bigger squirters in. They're only like 28. The squirter is like a 28 and a 29. That's pretty small. Really, on these suckers, you can go, I don't know, I forget what the biggest one is. Well, there's the big Holly one, and then from there they start to go into the Demon. But I got some of the big Demon squirters and stuff. So whatever the case is, we might need to add a little bit of that. You know, more timing, more fuel is usually always the answer with these race motors. But let's go ahead and hear some exhaust noise now. That's nice. Alright, so it runs pretty good. It's not all the way dialed in yet. We're going to have to go ahead, and I think if we add a little bit of timing on the initial setting, I think if we go ahead and add a little bit more timing, maybe recurve this distributor a little bit more and have a little bit more initial timing, either go with some looser springs or maybe even just set it at like 34, which is a little bit of a conservative setting for a race motor, but it's got to, you know, customer wants it to be streetable too. And then we can probably bring this idle down a little bit, clean the idle up and bring it down. I had it at 1,000, but it's kind of seems like it's back up at about 1,200 now. I can turn it down a little bit more, but I want it to be smoother, and I really want it to smooth out and clean up a little bit. So I think adding some timing, and again, I don't know if you heard when I stabbed the throttle a couple times there, you get a little bit of a hesitation. That's because we need to go ahead and put some big giant squirters up here on these accelerator pumps right now. It's running a 28 in the front and a 29 in the back. I think that's way too small for this motor, so we got some giant big fucking dick daddy ones we're going to put on there. More fuel, more timing, that's always the answer. Good Guys Automotive Performance. Give us a call at 224-633-0012. Check us out on the web at www.goodguysautomotiveperformance.com. Give us a call when you're ready to look good. Give us a call when you're ready to go fast, and we'll see you at the racetrack.